Ch70 Everblaze. Elwin was waiting for them at Everglen when they arrived. Dex had called him to help with Grady, who thankfully only needed a few elixirs to clear his head before he was back to normal. Well, normal health wise, at least. Mentally would be a much longer recovery, but Sophie supposed that was to be expected after the betrayal he endured. She hadn't had a chance to talk to him or Edeline since she'd arrived. There'd been too much chaos getting Sanders' massive body inside and helping Elwin adjust his treatments for Goblin's physiology. Elwin expected Sander to make a full recovery, but he'd be off his feet for a month. He'd broken most of his bones in the fall and would need to stay sedated for the rest of the week, but all things considered, he was incredibly lucky. Sophie had wanted to stay by his side until he woke up, but Elwin insisted on treating her for frostbite and altitude sickness and smoke inhalation and a dozen other maladies her adventurers had given her, and he didn't ask about her missing circlet as he rubbed a healing balm on the abrasions on her forehead, but he gave her a huge hug when he was finished. Sophie hugged him back, feeling her eyes burn with tears. She was starting to realize what choice Mr. Forkel had meant before she'd left Mount Everest, and she had no idea if she was brave enough to make it. Alden had insisted everyone stay within Everglen's protective gates. Even Dex, who looked extra nervous in the grand, glittering halls, regardless of how many ways Della tried to make him comfortable. Sophie was given the same bedroom she'd slept in twice before, once on her first night in the Elven world, and the other after she'd first been rescued from the kidnappers. But she knew this night would be her scariest night yet. She sat awake long after Grady and Edeline brought her Ella to help her sleep, trying not to remember the heartbreak she'd seen etched into their faces. It wasn't her fault they looked so lost and devastated, but it would be soon if she did what the Black Swan had asked. But did she really have another option? Can't sleep either? Kip asked, peeking through the crack in her doorway. He fidgeted with the sleeves of the blue pajamas he'd borrowed from Fitz as he sat on the edge of her bed. Please don't ask how I'm doing. That's all anyone said to me since I got here, and they keep tilting their heads and puckering their brows, and it makes me want to punch them. And I really don't want to punch you, especially since I'm pretty sure you could knock me across the room. Sophie smiled at the cuff still on her wrist. She knew she should give it back to Dex, but she had a feeling she was going to need it. A lot. So when they leave? Kif asked like he knew what she'd been thinking. Oh, I swear, for an empath, you act more like a telepath. That's because I'd be an awesome telepath. And I can guarantee if I snuck into your head and saw secret things, I would tell you what they are. Most of them, at least. Okay, maybe just the part about you being completely lost without me and needing me to come with you when you leave. Sophie reached for an itchy eyelash, but stopped herself on the way. If she was going to do this, she needed to learn to be brave. I don't even know if I'm going, she mumbled. Yes, you do. I mean, you're also scared and stressed and stuff, but I can feel your resolve. Shoot, I could feel it down the hall, which is why I had come in and bugged you, because I want in. And before you say anything, you should know I'm not really giving you a choice in this. I'll follow you if I have to, but I'd rather not have to be creepy like that. Keith. He took her hand, waiting for her to meet his eyes. Don't make me beg, Sophie. Keith, if I do this, I don't know when I'll be able to come home. Sounds perfect. Is now too soon to leave? If you don't want to stay with your father, I'm sure you could stay here. Probably, but then I'd still have to see him. He picked at a thread on the end of his sleeve, unraveling the perfect seam. Who knew he'd turn out to be the good parent? Didn't see that one coming. Keith, whatever you're going to say, I'm sure I've already thought it. I've been replaying the last few years of my life, and you know what I keep focusing on? That wound you spotted on my mom's arm. The one you were worried my dad gave her. Turns out, I gave it to her. I hit her with the goblin throwing star during that battle on the cliff, right after she clocked me in the head with a rock and knocked the melder out of my hand. And the thing is, I wasn't wearing a disguise like she was. She knew it was me, and she still attacked me. But she did stop Biana from falling off the edge of that cliff, Sophie reminded him. She didn't have to do that. She also pressed a melder to Biana's brain and threatened to pull the trigger. She didn't have to do that either. I guess that's true, Sophie admitted. Honestly, Lady Gisela scared her way more than Brant did. At least Brand had a reason for being broken and crazy. Nothing would ever excuse the horrible things he'd done, but Sophie could understand why he joined the rebels in the first place. She knew better than anyone what it felt like to have her abilities stripped away and the hard choices that had to be made. So when they have to leave, Kif asked, sensing her mood shift. Sophie threw up her hands. I don't even know where I'm going. I do, Fitz said, leaning in through her doorway. One of the things Mr. Forkel showed me was the rest of that memory I found earlier, that window in Italy. That window in Italy? He plopped next to Kip on the bed, wearing the exact same pajamas, only his fit better. Under normal circumstances, Sophie might have teased him about being twins. But given everything that had happened, all she asked was, "Did you find out where it is?" Yeah, I guess it's in a city called Florence. Or was it Firenze? They're the same place, Sophie explained. Firenze is Florence in Italian, but that's a huge city. Did it tell you any more information than that? Fitz nodded smugly. But I'm not telling you until you say I can go with you. And me, Bianna added, appearing in the corner of the room, making Sophie wonder how long she'd been there. Sophie got up to pace, realizing only after she did that she was wearing a long pink nightgown Bianna had loaned her, covered in sparkly unicorns. It might not have been so bad if Bianna weren't wearing a simple black tunic and stretched pants with red floppy slippers. Guys, this isn't some like fun adventure I'm going on, she told them, crossing her arms and trying to look serious. It's not even like the other stuff you'd help me with. We're talking about running away to find the black swan. We are? Dex asked from the doorway. Guess it's a good thing I came upstairs then, because I definitely want in on that. Dex was also wearing a pair of Fitz's blue pajamas, though he'd had to cuff the pants and sleeves several times to make them fit. The extra fabric switched as he made his way to where Fitz and Kip were sitting and dropped down beside them. So where were we? He asked. I'm pretty sure this is the part where Sophie goes on and on and on about all the reasons why she's not going to let us go and we have to wear her down bit by bit. Fitz told him. You're not wearing me down, Sophie insisted. She's cute when she's in denial, isn't she? Isn't she? Kip asked, especially covered in sparkly unicorns. Sophie rubbed her head, wondering if it would be easier to hide in the bathroom until she was ready to leave. You guys have to understand. If I do this, I'll be a fugitive. Not only will I be going to live with the group the council has basically made their public enemy, number one. The group we all illegally went to help this morning? Fitz asked, grinning at her when she was forced to nod, just making sure. Carry on. Sophie rolled her eyes. Not only will I be going to live with the group the council has basically made their public enemy number one, but I'll be doing it without the circlet they ordered me to wear. You mean the circlet I illegally helped you remove and then threw into the Everblaze to destroy? Dex asked. I see what you guys are trying to do, Sophie told them. And yeah, you're probably going to be in trouble. But that's not the same as leaving everything you know behind. If I do this, I don't know when I'll be able to come back. Is that really what you want? Yes, Skip answered immediately. Yeah, I know, Sophie told him, turning to Fitz, Bianna, and Dex. But what about you guys? Do you really want to leave your families, not knowing when you'll see them again? Do you have any idea what that'll do to them? You have a family too, Bianna reminded her. I know, and the stabbing guilt she'd been trying to ignore jabbed her heart like a hot poker. But I don't have a choice here. Neither do we, Fitz told her. Like it or not, we're all involved, Sophie. So you can let us come with you and we can solve this mess a lot faster together. Or you can be stubborn and try to sneak away and we'll just follow you. In fact, we'll beat you there because let's not forget, I already know where you need to go and you don't. Can I say something? Alden said from the doorway, making them all jump. They jumped again when they realized he wasn't alone. Della, Grady, and Edeline all followed him into the room as Sophie sat beside her friends, bracing for the lecture of the century. Instead, Alden told them, I think the five of you should go. What? They all asked in unison. To the Black Swan, Alden clarified. I think you should go. Fitz was the first to recover, clearing his throat and asking, You do? Yes, mind you, it's not what I want. What I want is to lock all of you in your various bedrooms to keep you safe. But when I embarked on my search to find Sophie, which was technically an illegal operation by the way, I knew I was wading into dangerous waters, and yet I still did it. And even involved my son. He smiled sadly at Fitz because of one simple fact. I knew it was right. He paused to look at each of them in turn before he continued. The council was wrong when they sentenced you to wear that circlet, Sophie, just like they were wrong to target the black swan and to ignore the warning signs from the ogres. And I fear they're going to get far worse when news of these recent adventures finds them. Which means, much as it pains me to admit, locking you in your bedrooms isn't going to keep any of you safe right now. The best place you can be is with the group the council has been failing to find for decades. And you have a much better chance of making it there safely if you go together. So I think you should leave tonight. In fact, the gnomes are already gathering a few things you might need for your journey. You should be ready to depart within the hour. Seriously? Bianna asked, clapping her hands and clearly seeming way too giddy for the occasion. Sophie turned to Grady and Adeline, who were both wiping tears from their cheeks. You guys are really okay with this? Yes and no, Grady said, holding out his arms for a hug. Sophie crossed the room and sank into them, tearing up when she felt Adeline's fingers stroking her hair, lingering on the crown of her head where the circlet had been. Havenfield won't be the same without you, Grady said softly, and it will always be ready for you to come home. But I have to agree with Alden. The safest place for you right now is with a group who knows how to hide. Dex's parents agree as well. I met with them while Sander was getting treated. Sophie glanced at Dex and he nodded. But will you guys be okay? Sophie whispered, turning back to Grady and Adeline. After, you won't need me? We'll always need you, Adeline said quietly. But that's the point. What we need more than anything is for you to be safe, and I knew you wouldn't believe me. That's why I've already packed your things. She pointed to a purple backpack stashed by the door. The same purple backpack Sophie had shown up with after she left her human family. It was crammed a lot fuller this time, but it still seemed impossibly small. Was that really all she'd have to help her for the next stage of her journey? No. She turned to study the faces of her friends, the faces that had been with her through everything. She'd fought so hard to protect them that she hadn't really considered how much they'd protected her. Individually, they were vulnerable, but together, they were a team. You guys are sure you want to do this? Sophie asked, needing to check one last time. There's no going back from here. Kip smirked. How many times do I have to tell you? Bring it on, Foster. I'm ready. Me too. Fitz promised, nodding quickly at his dad. Me three, Bianna agreed. So the real question, Dex said, flashing his dimpled grin, is, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, Sophie told him, not needing any deep breaths or counted seconds before she decided. She was ready, so all she had left to say was, let's go join the Black Swan.